Relationships are so difficult. And so therefore, anything we can do to help us improve how we're reading another person can be really helpful. So in today's episode, we're going to explore how do you read someone's body language in a relationship. Body language helps us read another person. It speaks a language that, if we can interpret, will give us clues into what another person is thinking or feeling. And so, therefore, today we're going to explore 5 different areas that are important that will help us read a person's body language in a relationship. The first area is mirroring. See, as human beings, we are built for connection. We are naturally empathetic towards each other. And one of the ways that that shows up so interestingly in body language is through the mirroring. And what we mean by that is that if we were to look at a couple, what we'll find is that all of a sudden they begin to mirror the body language of another person. This is a sign of comfort, and it's a sign of connection. So what we normally find is that if you look at a couple who are in a conversation and the conversation is going well, they're connected, then what you'll find is that when one party makes a movement, perhaps crossing their legs, the other person quite unconsciously will do the same thing as well. When a person moves their hand in a certain way, the other person will begin to move their hand as well. And so if you were asked that couple to freeze the conversation where they're at, one of the things you'll find is that they're almost a mirror of each other. Now, mirroring also shows up not just in the body posture, but interestingly as well, mirroring also shows up in the words that we use and also the pace and the tone of our voice. So when two people are in sync, when they're mirroring each other, what you'll also find as well is the volume of the voice is almost matched with the other person, and the pace of the conversation is also matched. And that's really helpful to experience as well, because if we're having a conversation with someone and we're speaking really quickly and the other person is speaking really slowly, there begins a disconnect between both people. And what we'll find with mirroring is that one person will either increase their speed or decrease their speed to match the other person, and that will help in the experience of connection. So when it comes to looking at mirroring, what we're looking at is not only the body posture, but also the speed of the conversation, the volume of the voice, because those as well will begin to match each other. Whenever I run a workshop, this is one of the things that I love to do. I create an exercise where people are having a conversation about something that's important to them. And I ask the other person to really listen intently, to show as much empathy as possible to the other person. And then during the exercise, there's a time when I'll say, stop and freeze. And one of the things that's so incredibly interesting is that whenever you look at the people who've frozen, so often their body language mirrors the other. And then when you ask the person, what was happening in that conversation? They'll say things like, well, I really felt the other person was listening to me. I really felt that they were interested in the story. I really felt that they wanted to help me. And so that's reflected in the mirroring as well of one person with the other. So the next time you see a couple in conversation and you see signs of mirroring, one of the things that you're experiencing is their connection with each other. A second area to explore when it comes to reading body language in a relationship is with eye contact. You see, eye contact creates connection. One of the things we know scientifically is that when eyes connect with each other, a hormone is excreted which is called oxytocin. That oxytocin actually helps us bond with another person. And so therefore when people look into each other's eyes, what's happening is actually a bonding experience with the other person. Now in our Western culture, we normally have eye contact about 60% of the time in a conversation. In other cultures, that can be lesser as well because of the cultural context. But one of the things perhaps we want to look at when it comes to eye contact in a relationship is if we get the feeling that a person is avoiding eye contact, because that's a sign as well of discomfort and a sign as well that the person really feels disconnected. So pay attention to those moments when you see changes in the baseline of eye contact and begin to ask other questions. What's happening here? Why would it be that this person is changing their level of eye contact with me? The third area is in the face and in the emotions that we see. Now, our face is a gateway into the emotions, and we know that there are certain emotions that are universal. When we see these emotions in a person's face, we can be sure that that is the emotion they're experiencing. What we don't know is what they're thinking, but we certainly know how they're feeling. Now, when it comes to a relationship, of course, emotions like sadness are incredibly important because sadness really is an emotion about loss. And very often we can miss an expression of sadness in a person's face, or happiness, or anger. But perhaps one of the most researched emotions happens to be contempt. There's a researcher called Gottman, and he has a lab in Seattle which was called the Love Lab. And what he did is that he invited married couples over a long period of time, sometimes up to 40 years in a marriage. And he recorded conversations that they had with each other. And so good was he in picking up signs of emotions in the face that he was able to predict with up to 95% certainty whether the relationship would last or would end up in divorce. And one of the emotions that was key in this experience was the emotion of contempt. Now, contempt's an interesting emotion. It's the only unilateral emotion. It shows on one side of the face, and it's the raising of the lip either on the left side or the right side. And often it can be confused with a smirk, but actually it's much more dangerous than a smirk. Because when a person feels contempt towards another, it's this feeling of superiority. It's this feeling that I'm better than you. And in a marriage or in a relationship, it can be extremely destructive if it is not addressed. So pay attention to the emotions that you're seeing in another's face, and pay special attention as well to signs of contempt. It doesn't mean that a relationship is going to break up, but it means that there are important things to discuss that have been unaddressed. Before we explore the other two areas of body language in a relationship, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, to press the bell to be reminded, and you'll receive notification of the next video, which will explore different areas of emotional intelligence, just like the one we're exploring today, which is body language in relationships, to help you be more emotionally intelligent and to have different choices of behaviors and emotions in the different areas of your life at work and at home. The fourth area of body language that's important when it comes to relationship is how open or closed the person's posture is. You see, as human beings, we react to the environment around us. In fact, it's almost as if we have an internal radar, and every 6 seconds, we're scanning the environment to see if we think that something is dangerous to us. And if we do, what happens is that our body begins to close. Whenever we feel a lack of confidence, our body begins to close as well. It's almost as if we're a tortoise and that our head is going back into our body and we're protecting ourselves. And so therefore, in a relationship, if we look at the body language of another person, if that person's taking up a lot of space, it's a good sign that they feel confident, they feel relaxed. But if a person feels anxious, feels fearful, feels that they're not protected in the moment, or feel too vulnerable, what happens is that they'll experience this closing of the body language. So pay attention to their posture and ask the question, is it an open posture or is it a closed posture? And the final area to explore body language in a relationship is to look for signs of connection or disconnection when it comes to moments of conversation. You know, there are so many different competitors. When it comes to our attention, there are so many competitors that are vying for some time with us. And perhaps one of the greatest competitors is our phone, because it's constantly seeking our attention. You'll be amazed if you walk into a restaurant and you look at conversation between couples. And what you'll find more and more often now are people disengaged with each other and engaged with the mobile device in their hand. I actually was in a restaurant a few weeks ago. There was a group of 6 people. Every single one of them were engaged with their phone and not engaged in conversation. So therefore, it's important to ask, and as we look at people, are they engaged or disengaged? And perhaps there's also something to consider in this final point. How engaged are you with your mobile device when it comes to times of potential connection with your spouse or your partner? It's an opportunity for us to really disengage with the distractions and to truly engage with them, because there's one thing we just can't do, and that's multitask. We kind of think that it's so easy to gaze at another person, to gaze at our phone, and to maintain a balance between both. But in reality, we can't, because it takes away from the strength of that engagement and the strength of the connection and the strength of our empathy. So just a suggestion, whenever you do sit down for some conversation, for a meal, to put away the phone, even for 15 or 20 minutes, so that you can be truly focused on the other person. Because the more disconnected we are from another person, the greater sign it is of a lack of empathy for what they're feeling or what they're going through. When it comes to reading body language, one of the mindsets that's incredibly important is to be curious and to observe. And so I just invite you, the next time you're in an environment like an airport or maybe a restaurant, just take time and sit back and look at the conversations that are happening around you. This time, don't listen to the words or try and listen to the words, but just look at the body language you're experiencing. What are you seeing? Are you seeing mirroring? Are you seeing eye contact? Are you seeing disconnect? If you had imagined what the conversation that's happening, what would you imagine? This curiosity helps you become a better reader of body language. And if you've enjoyed this video, I invite you to watch the next, which is to how to control your emotions in an argument.